they want to start their own thing. Well, how do you help them think through that? What do you tell them?
Yeah. So that's a great question, because that was, to be clear, definitely a different position than what I was in. I think the first thing I'd kind of test is, I think there's a lot of people who like the idea of startups, but actually wouldn't want to do a startup. Like, they don't necessarily like the risk. They don't like the kind of swinginess of it. It freaks them out. Like, to me, I kind of like the possible of like this company failing. It helps drive me and makes me work more. For a lot of people, it can kind of be debilitating. So I think the first thing I'd kind of recommend, especially if they haven't done a startup before, do it on your free time. So like what I was doing at Dropbox is I was like, all right, I'm going to do my 20, 30, 40 hours a week. Didn't necessarily need to work all that much. I'm going to spend the rest of my time after this working on my startup. Okay. And if at some point I decide, okay, I've been doing this for a month, I really fucking like what I'm doing, I see some promise, and also I'm getting to the point where I'm doing so much work that my job at Dropbox is fucking it up, I'm gonna quit. So I think that's one thing you should test with. Like, if you're doing a 40-hour-a-week kind of job right now, if you do a startup, you're gonna have to do more time to make it successful. Yeah. 80 plus, if not sometimes 100 plus, just because you need to get things done. Start testing it now. Like, start doing 20, 30, 40 hours a week. Do you feel like there's a lot more things you need to do, or do you feel like it is very much so manageable in the current time you have? And then once you come to the decision that I like it, what I'm actually doing, I think it has some promise, and on top of that, like my current job is taking away from it, then it's time to start thinking about kind of leaving. And then I think it gets into the more kind of real pragmatic question of like, well, how much runway do you have?
Yeah.
If you quit this job, like, what are you paying in rent? How much cash do you have on hand? Are you supporting your parents? When are your student loan payments due? If you were to tell me, like, I've got no money in the bank, I'm taking care of my parents, I'm in a new city, sucks to say, but you need to be very, very pragmatic about how much you can make it. Like, if you've only got a month of runway, shit's probably not going to work. You can try to will it into existence, but you also need to be kind of realistic about your situation. But then comes, like, I think there's a lot of other things you can kind of do on the side to supplement it. So, like, how can you kind of get more money into your savings? Like, even moving to a place, like if you got a remote job as an example, I'd say try to move to a place like San Francisco. Try to move to a place where you've got this like greater density of kind of entrepreneurs. Is there a way that you can kind of like quasi fundraise on the side? But like, be pragmatic about it. But the first thing to test is like, do you actually want to do a fucking startup? Because I would say doing a startup is not for most people. Just like, they don't like it. Like, they're dealing with too much risk. They don't enjoy kind of the process of going through it. So it's about understanding if you actually enjoy it first.